Hi, gay is not sin, and Jesus is not asking the gay person to change and be straight. That's right, the Bible doesn't condemn gays. Gay is not sin. I always get messages all the time, either email. I got a Pal Talk chat room. If you want to go to Pal Talk, you just look for Gays for Jesus in the Christian section, well, anyway, I hear a lot from a lot of different people in a lot of different ways. And on the TV screen, you can see the email address and the voice message, and even you could text me if you want. But I hear from you, and yeah, I hear a lot of good stuff. But I also hear a lot of bad stuff. Christians just got this idea gay is sin, and it's kind of amazing how Christians that are supposed to be so loving, and they'll treat a lot of other different kinds of things that they think is sin as well, that they place gays into, like drugs and on and on. Look what Huckabee just said on the news the other day, that he ain't going to change his religious beliefs. He thinks the Bible says gay is sin, and so forth and so on. But he has a lot of friends that are gay and everything, and he knows a lot of druggies and he's listing some sins and everything, like a lot of homophobes do. They want to put gay people in the category of other kinds of problems people have. Well, it doesn't matter who you are, gay or straight. Doesn't matter if you're female or male. There's a lot of things out there that across the board affects, and drugs are one of them. So you can't, say, put a group and say, well, they're like drugs. No, in this group there are people that have drug problems. But being gay is not the drug problem. But a lot of you think that what's the difference, Any list of sins, you got to put gays in there. And he says, unless somebody changes the Bible, or rather, unless that a new Bible comes out, or he was trying to think there's some magical type of thing that if somehow people find, then he's gonna just go what he thinks his Bible says, that gay is sin. The problem with people, and I'm sure there's lots of you listening to me because I get email from you and chat and on and on and on, voice messages, and that all you want to do is say gay is sin and you're going to hell. But what you don't want to do is tell me why you say gay is sin. I've been on this TV weekly since March of 1985. And for the last couple of years, 3 or 4 years, I've been on almost 6-7 times a week. Besides my 24-hour running at livestream.com. It's livestream/Gays for Jesus, something like that. You could just put live stream and then Gays for Jesus, and it'll come up, and you click on the link, and there I am. You go to my website, gaysforjesus.com, and there's up at the top, it has the live stream, and it shows basically all the ones that I went in a foreign country. But then I also have the link of my weekly programs for the last couple of years now, or 3 years. Time flies since they've been over the new service here, where we have on demand 24/7. There's lots of ways you can watch me, and if you got any ideas or want to help me somehow, I'm doing the best I can. Something like when I did the live stream thing, I didn't realize my iPod has the right side or upside down, because most programs, when you play back, it knows the difference. It says upside down, yeah, it'll flip it back over, so you don't know anything. All you know is you're watching the picture correctly. Well, this livestream .com thing doesn't seem to have the ability, at least yet, to do that. So I did my programs as usual, uploaded them, they're all upside down. Go figure. But anyway, so, because I like to do it on iPod, these TV programs, it's really convenient, and now I got one of these things, sometimes kind of look funny maybe, but at least it's a wireless, Bluetooth or something, so I don't have any wires anymore, just this one little wire ear to ear, and so it helps out a lot. Not perfect by any means. It's still amazing to see people with microphones that doesn't seem to collect any wind or anything like that, but at any rate, I'm doing the best I can, and I'm sure a lot of you can do a lot better than I can. I'm always looking for help, if you know, and you can help a little. My website's got a donation button too. I can handle a little extra. Otherwise, you know, I'm pretty fine. But it just it's kind of nice to know you're listening. So when you give a little of yourself, even if it's simply some good ideas of how I could make the program better or something. And I'm still working, so I don't have enough time to spend to add a lot of extra stuff into the program as I go along. But at any rate, I hear from an awful lot of you, and over the years I see that I've, you know, what's kind of cool on since I've really been developing my TV online thing a little bit better, it's gotten easier, and I found out you can copy and paste and you get it right there. And I'm finding that in my tracker stat counter thing, it's showing that the number of hours individuals are spending on my website has grown considerably. I mean, some people are spending a couple of hours on there, and so that means they're definitely watching my TV program. That's the only reason people would spend any length of time. You know, usually you're lucky to get your few minutes from somebody, or a little bit longer if they want to click on all the links, and some people, they just look at every single link that I got on there. But it's kind of in the recent years I've noticed the length of time increasing, because I'm getting to where people can watch the program right there, first click, and when they land on the page, they can right away start watching. And so it's kind of cool watching that piece of the pie on the chart, how long each people are staying, and actually my longest part of the chart, besides the people that just click on and see it and then click away, is the staying over an hour or two or longer. And so it's good to know that you're stopping by and watching my program, and 24/7. But again, you know, those of you that just really want to kind of tell me that gay is sin, you know what would really help is you tell me why. Of course, I'm wasting my time asking you. I've been asking you since 1985. If you're going to tell me it's sin, can't you do better than saying it's in the Bible, or it's my belief, I'm a Christian? That means automatically Christians believe gay is sin? Well, it's kind of interesting. Program, news channel on TV was, and I think it was a CNN thing, maybe it's Out Front or something. They were talking about, I guess Huckabee must have been confronted about gays, and he said he absolutely will not change, and he will not evolve, referring to Obama. But at any rate, and it turns out he did evolve, because Republican Party is evolving towards accepting gays, and he's accepting what they're sort of accepting. If that's the way, then so be it. Well, that's evolving. But anyway, they were reporting on how like Huckabee was trying to say, Christians just believe this way. It's the Bible. However, I often tell you, 37,000 Christian denominations. So there's a difference in what people believe on their various doctrines. See, a lot of the Bible is interpretation. You interpret what you want to interpret. And so you can say almost anything you want. That's why the Bible is pretty good, because when push gets to shove, things are getting bad and some doctrines don't seem to work and everything, you rely back on John 3:16, for whosoever believes that God wrote, that God gave His only begotten Son, and He rose Him on the third day, paid the price for your sin. If you believe that, and that's what obeying God is. Believing God. You might not be able to obey Him as a way that one should obey traffic laws or laws of the land. We try to obey that, but we can't really do that, because if you're going to try to obey God in that kind of manner, you got to get the law of Moses out and obey every single jot and tittle of that law. You can't do that, and a lot of the stuff is impossible. No matter how you look at it, we can't do that. You're not going to go out there and start killing cows, are you? Shed and put their blood. And you can't even, so you have to go rely on your pastor to kill a cow and sprinkle the blood over, or they have a hierarchy? No. We kind of say, well, that's an Israel thing, and it ended 2,000 years ago. Although Israel's going to try to do that again soon. And they're getting ready to. But if you want to say something about obeying God as some kind of obeying laws, because obeying laws is not obeying God. It's a good idea to try to do what the laws say, and there's a reason for the laws and everything. Thou shalt not kill. Well, it's a pretty good thing to not kill people. But we got wars, and throughout the Bible it talks about, Joshua raised his hand, or raised Moses' arms, and when Moses' arms is raised, more than him he got killed. Soon as he getting tired, Moses lower his arm, more Israelites started getting killed. So finally Joshua and the other guy was holding up his arms to keep him up, so that Israel would keep winning and not too many of them die. Well, anyway, you got wars and everything, and that seemed like thou shalt not kill. And it seemed like God's on the side of Israel in killing, so we can get pretty going bonkers trying to figure out how do you go, thou shalt not kill, and then you go to war. So, well, there's two different things. Well, you could say anything you want. So you interpret the Bible to fit your denominational preference. So when you're saying gay is sin, you're saying that based on your conditioning. Because a lot of you that say gay is sin and fighting like crazy are gay yourself. And some often, there's lots of long list of people that fought gays. I know lots of people that fought God so hard about their being gay and fighting gays, and then finally, it wins out. You're who you are, and it's going to win. If it takes 30 years, it's going to win out. People get married, have kids, everything like that, and their true nature nags at them, and finally they it's going to hurt the kids, going to hurt their wife, and all that. Who knows what's going to happen? But they got to be who they are, gay, and so. But if you're going to actually condemn gays, you got a process. You got the Word of God. And you can't say, Paul is saying they're doing what is unseemly, and you're trying to define this as one man loving one man, like one man loving a woman, like in a marriage. You know how when you're growing up, all of a sudden you want to date somebody, and then you want to get married. You want to love somebody. have sex with the opposite sex, but you ultimately you want it to be one and one, but in that process you go through quite a few, don't you? And then finally maybe you do find that one person. You know what it is to be straight. So just instead of thinking that way, thinking of a gay person and then saying they're just like you. If just for a moment you just start thinking that way and saying, what would you do? Well, you play the field. If you go to college, you're gonna. If you look at your notches, I had that one, that one, that one, that one, that one. I had 20 girls, you know. And these days, girls speak out quite a bit, and you know, you're watching Superman. Ran again. Man of Steel ran again last night, and the real cute part of it at the end is that the woman army person was with that boss army person, and Superman just threw a spy satellite down because he didn't want to be spied on. He says, you know, you're not going to find out where I hang up my cape. So they worked that out. Says, okay. And then they're getting back in the car. Superman flew off, and the girl, the guy was out. What's the matter? And she said, well, Superman's so hot. Go figure. You straight people, you got your whole world to yourself, and you're saying basically all these kinds of stuff about, oh, this is perfectly fine as long as you're straight. But if a gay person is doing the same thing, if they think another guy is hot or something, or if they date somebody, walk down the street holding hands or something like that, fall in love and move in with somebody, and now over 2/3 of the states allow gay marriage. Later on this year, June of 2015, maybe all the states will. It will be mandatory in all 50 states and all the territories and so forth. But you know about straights, and basically you would probably narrow it down to rapes and multiple. I mean, some of our sports athletes brag about 2,000 sexual partners, and they wonder why they come down with some disease. Some have. And you know, I was in the Air Force, and there's a lot of people in the military. You know what? When you're in there, and you personally, I don't know what they're doing now, but when I was in there, if you were a married man or you had a fiance back home, that did not stop you from going to the prostitutes. It did not stop you from shacking up downtown. And this isn't onesies or just a few here, and the rest of the thousands and thousands of men on the base and women as it were, they were just decent folk, being faithful to their wife back home, being faithful to their fiance. No, people. The military had to have classes. Sometimes it was once a month, sometimes quarterly. And you were required to go to them, and they teach you to make sure when you go downtown to the prostitute, ask them for their book. And then they open up their book. Depending on the color of the stamp, they were declared clean. But they only had the doctor check once a week. So if it happens to be the day of the week that they just had their test, that's a good time to go. But if it was the day before their test, you know, they had a whole week. But they taught you this in military. I don't know what they're doing these days, people overseas, but they probably have to do the same thing, because you straight people, they're still going out there doing all their thing they want to do. And they teach you the best procedures, the before, the after, and so forth and so on. And back in those days, they didn't have any of these. As one person on TBN said decades ago, condominiums. You know, that he couldn't even say rubber or something, or condom. He had to say condominium. It was kind of funny, you know, but it just shows you how tight up some Christians are in trying to figure out what's right and wrong sexually. But as a Christian, you pretty much know the boundaries. But somehow, when you think of a gay person, those of you that think gay is sin, you think automatically it's sin, even though all the verses you use describe something that gays never do. I mean, they're describing orgies, and they're ritual orgies. They're talking about specific kinds of people. Straight Hebrew adults, men or women. It was usually mostly men, but they knew God, they grew up, they became adults, knew God, but they went to other gods, so God let them join into these temples where they had ritual orgies, which you could find a dime a dozen, do a little research, not even hardly any research at all. You know that there's fertility temples. Paul wrote the book of Romans, and he could turn his head like that and he could see Corinth. On the top of Corinth, I hiked to the top of it. I did a TV program at the top of Corinth, where was the temple of Aphrodite. There's not too much left of it. It's all in ruins, about 3 blocks high. I stood on it and walked around it as I was doing a TV program. You can look down the bottom of the mountain and you can see the temple of Apollo. Probably when Paul came out of his rented house there to sit down on the bench outside his house to start writing away, you know, and get a little sun, writing the book of Romans, you can look up there's a temple of Apollo. And there's lots more to Apollo than what we think of just an ordinary Greek god or something. There's even much more to it in considering the last days. He's an Antichrist and a few other kind of situations in there related to Apollo there. There's a lot more going on. Why Apollo was so important in ancient times. And then he could turn his head over here and he could look up there and he can see the temple of Aphrodite. It could have been in ruins by that time, but Corinth was a seaport of some 400,000 people. And prostitution was all over the place. When you go there now to look at ancient Corinth in the museums and anything, you don't see any kind of a gay culture. You see a orgy culture to fertility gods. So when you're looking up to condemn gays and say it condemns gays, you got to say where and how, because Paul is speaking about ritual orgies. And the any male to male sex that is mentioned is specific. It's a heterosexual man that has family that goes to a temple prostitute that's a male. And there's lots of reasons, you know, hey, you know, I heard I like to gamble, you know. They say that you can get blessings doing this kind of thing. So they go and do that and they do whatever it is. You know, people do, how can you understand it? I don't understand it. Today people go to prison. They're totally heterosexual, but then why do they have sex with men while they're in prison? Well, psychologist tells us they make that man a woman so they can dominate that woman. As soon as they're out of prison, they're back over to dominating and subjugating a woman and so forth. So if you're going to condemn gays, you know, why don't you try to find gays in the Bible instead of using things that don't talk about gays? Because in those days, when Jesus was walking around, there was information about gays. You can actually find some, it used to be, I always say 9, at least 9 Greek words, but there's about 17 plus words that related to homosexuals in more like what we understand gays to be today. And those words weren't used in the Bible, and on my website or on my Facebook page, someplace down there, I list those words. So there is words for real gays in Paul's day, but Paul didn't use it. He used a word, he kind of invented one, arsnakotes, but that word means, it's from the Hebrew word kadosh, means sodomite, as translated today, but that means male temple prostitute. That means somebody in a temple, fertility temple, usually cuts the off, so he looks more and dressed like a woman, because heterosexuals are coming to him, so it's better. And they is fertility worship. going to condemn gays. Back up your mouth. If you don't know Jesus right now, turn to him and say, Jesus, I believe you're the Son of God, and that God rose you on the third day. Forgive my sin and come to my life. Simple prayer like that gets you saved. Ask Jesus to baptize you in the Holy Spirit. You'll speak a language you never learned. Have much more spiritual power. Got a place of pain? Touch that place right now. You hurt? Come on, touch. Jesus heals today. Got that? In the name of Jesus, be healed. See you next time.